Thanks so much for clicking on this video. This is going to be a video about the First Descendant and why I think it might be the next big looter shooter. If you haven't paid attention to the First Descendant, it was formerly titled Project Magnum, and I've got a breakdown for you. I'm going to put all of the good information right here at the beginning. It's a live stream, so it's a longer video, but I put all the goods right here at the beginning. A great breakdown of everything we know so far. They have responded to concerns about pay to win and being free to play. This game looks very, very promising. I'm going to end the previous stream. We did a stream this morning about the Starfield release date getting delayed potentially again. I'm going to end that stream and bring everybody over. And once everybody comes over, be sure to hit that like button. If you're watching the past broadcast, be sure to smash the like button, hit subscribe so you don't miss my content. Consider becoming a paying member. That does support me directly, and it gets you into members-only content that we do every day. This is a Reforge update. The First Descendant, formerly known as Project Magnum, is looking to be the next big looter shooter. What do we know about it so far? Well, actually quite a bit, and they've even addressed some of the concerns about pay to win. I'm going to outline all of that for you in this short video. Hit subscribe and the bell button if you're watching on Reforge updates. Be sure to check out Reforge Gaming, where I do my live streams. So escapistmagazine.com had a great interview. Magnum Studio is who is working on this one, and it looks like a great looter shooter. And in the interview, they talked about where they got some of their inspiration as well as their learning. Quote, "It's our first time creating a looter shooter. Nevertheless, we are all in love with the genre. We think that Warframe is a great game along with Destiny, Division, Outriders, Anthem, Borderlands, Halo." A lot of great names right there that they've taken inspiration and have learned from. I've always said, someone's building the next big looter shooter. They're going to look at what all these other games have done right and wrong, and they're going to make the king. I think we're still have yet to see that. Maybe this game pulls it off. They went on to say, "We studied and worked hard to develop our game to stand proudly alongside these prominent titles. As a result, it seems that there are various aspects that have influenced us. I think it's an honor to be compared to these titles. Of course, we put a lot of effort into creating our unique content, such as the co-op content and huge boss raids." So, what's the gameplay loop? That's what everybody always wants to know. I always talk about how content is king. Everything should be sacrificed on the altar of the content loop. They said, "The most significant part of our core loop is character acquisition, as players must be able to use various characters to take on multiple missions and co-op content like raids. Therefore, players must collect and produce the necessary resources to acquire different characters while playing. You also have to earn weapons and diverse gear to make easier progress or to take on more challenging missions. Players will need miscellaneous gear to create various strategies." So you're going to have various characters that you're using, weapons, builds, and different strategies. And for those of you concerned about performance or graphics, they started in Unreal 4, and now the game's being built in Unreal 5. A lot of people are really excited to see games built in Unreal 5. They said, "We started developing the First Descendant with the latest version of Unreal Engine 4. Unreal Engine 5 was released during our development, and our dev team became highly interested in its visual quality. Although I was a bit concerned since the development had already progressed a lot at this point, I decided to boldly upgrade our game to Unreal 5 for the best visual quality. The main reason for the upgrade is the nanite and lumen of Unreal 5. In particular, we believe that the lighting quality provided by Lumen, a real-time global illumination solution, is essential for next-gen projects. Now, everyone on the team is delighted with the results." So, what can we look to experience in this game? Well, big bosses and co-op is a central theme. The typical field PvE does not require co-op, so if you're just doing normal stuff, you don't really need co-op, but co-op is necessary to take down the huge boss monster in raids. It is designed so that 4 players must form a team for a boss battle in a space dedicated to huge boss monster raids. There are several species of huge bosses, and we divided the raids into 2 difficulties, normal and hard, for the co-op level to vary. So there will be normal and hard, a reason to really challenge your group, possibly get more rewards and XP, I'm sure. You'll be able to experience these different co-op levels during the beta test. So that's Good news, that's coming up. It's designed for both solo and co-op, so the gameplay does consist of field missions. It's designed so you can play it by yourself. A private mode option allows you to enjoy the game alone without encountering other players, or you can also do the public mode. It does say that through that mode, though, all players will have sufficient resources for growth. So if you play by yourself, there's enough stuff for you to grow, but you can select public mode, play with other users, and enjoy co-op. So you can kind of open up your instance, or I'm sure invite people to your group. The raids, however, are designed for co-op. We kept the co-op gameplay in mind when designing the huge boss raids and some of the missions from the beginning. In particular, huge boss raids require a high level of cooperation because each boss has a different gimmick that requires a different strategy. Players must study the optimal characters and gear settings to clear the missions with a high level of co-op gameplay. So they're giving you those difficulty options in co-op, and the raids themselves are designed around 4-player co-op. Now, pay to win was addressed. People are concerned about pay to win. It's been addressed in two different parts. In this interview, they said, I believe that many players are curious and concerned about this. Since we have been running on the same track direction since the beginning of development, we are surprised to see that after our game reveals, many players were concerned about the excessive pay-to-win aspects of Nexon's games. Ultimately, so Nexon is the one that kind of owns the studio. Ultimately, we aspire not to pursue excessive pay-to-win aspects. That phrasing is concerning, is it not? They're not saying there won't be pay to win. They don't want excessive pay to win. The monetization model will also not deviate significantly from games of the same genre, so it should have things in common with other looter shooters out there, which would probably then be lots of cosmetics, I hope. Paid products will indeed exist, but the characters, equipment, and stages that are needed for gameplay and progress in the game can be earned through gameplay. So they're not saying you can't buy progress, stages, and equipment. They're saying it all can be earned, but it does sound like that's leaving the door open for people being able to buy things if they want. Now, they put a specific Steam post about their business model just a day or two ago. We are fully aware that there are mixed concerns about the game's business model. The First Descendant is a free-to-play game that includes in-game purchases. Despite the negative perspective toward free-to-play games, in the First Descendant, you will be able to acquire all necessary rewards by playing the game. We are not planning on adopting a business model that hinders player experience, commonly known as pay-to-win. And there's one more comment at the end of this video that I'll tell you. They really want to drive home things about pay to win. So you will be able to pay for stuff in the game. It likely sounds like you will be able to buy like progress shortcuts and gear, but it might not translate into feeling like you need to because everything can be earned. Also, it doesn't sound like there's any PvP in the game. The beta coming up will be a fully orbed beta. Players can choose various characters to enjoy and progress in the story and participate in missions, raids requiring co-op. So raids will be open and have the multiple difficulty options. So it's good to see aspects of the end game will be tested in the beta, not just like the prologue, but you will be able to go into some of the end game content. Progress will not carry over from the beta to the main game. This game is going to be multi-platform and cross-gen. They're targeting Steam, Series X and S, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One. So this will be cross-generation. It'll be on the old gen and the new gen, and it will be cross-platform as well, multi-platform. Final emphasis in the interview, they stated this at the very end. I would like to emphasize that our most significant goal is to create an entertaining game and not force payment from our players. So they are really stressing that there will be payment, there will be purchases, there will be people buying gear, potentially progress, but it will not feel forced. It will not feel like something that is coerced. So I'm going to be covering this and debating this at length over on Reforge Gaming where I stream. So if you watch this on Reforge Updates, hit subscribe and that bell button, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, let's chop this one up. Obviously, there's going to be concerns about the business model, about the pay to win, about the fact that it's free to play, but I can't help but be excited about what looks like to me to be the potential next big looter shooter. There's so many looter shooters that have tried to descend on the market and have ultimately failed, I think, to deliver excellence. I think obviously the standout title is Destiny. It is in a good, rhythmic, predictable place, but all the other looter shooters that have tried to come out have fundamentally failed, and I don't think Destiny has ever risen above good. It is a very good looter shooter. I think there are looter shooters on the horizon that will be significantly better than Destiny if they can build their games right. Why reference PvE if there is no PvP? Yeah, so Creature's got a question about that, is they directly reference PvE multiple times. Typically, when you're talking about patching and making adjustments, Creature, they patch the weapons, they patch the characters, and when they say they're patching PvE, a lot of times they're referring to the enemies, the bosses, the raids, the content itself. So I don't necessarily think the fact that they mention PvE presumes that PvP will be in the game. Pay to win, instant skip, the grind is going to push you to buy. They've made assurances in 3 different places that you will be able to earn everything without spending money. And literally the last sentence of the interview, he was like, our game is not going to force people to spend money. It's not. You're going to be able to play everything free and not feel the need to spend money. How does this game differentiate from Outriders? As far as I can tell from the gameplay, if you guys were watching that gameplay, the gameplay seems to be a lot more intense and dynamic than Outriders. A lot more verticality. There's flying. There's grapplings. There's. It seems more speedy. Like you see, they're running and leaving behind like an electric trail. It seems a lot more action adventure shooter when compared to Outriders. But it also seems like there's really, really awesome guns and bosses and fights. That looks like a raid boss there, that one that they were fighting. And then this guy looks like the big bad. You know, he's got all these people throwing their fists up to the sky. Oh, I've got the wrong ring on. We're supposed to be green. Free to play. Guess I'll be waiting longer. What did you see that makes you think that this is going to be good? Is there actual gameplay footage? Seems like any other trailer. Well, as far as their commentary, as far as their goals, the fact that they said they're trying to build, in the interview that I read, they're setting their sights on the global market. So they're wanting to appeal to a global market of people looking for a looter. And I think going global, going free to play, going multi-platform, going cross-generational will give this thing a potential massive audience. Because if there's one thing we know about most of the looter shooters that have come out up to now, they've either failed or they've not appealed to a global market. One of the reasons that like Lost Ark is so successful is because it appeals to a global market. It doesn't just appeal to the West. It doesn't just appeal to like existing gamers. I'm also looking at the gameplay. I think the gameplay looks incredibly promising. Now this right here, I cannot help, obviously we can't help but see what that looks like, right? That is such a direct inspiration from a ghost in Destiny, holding it above the hand, the central light, even the shape of it, for Pete's sakes. That looks like a direct piece of inspiration. However, this looks like an actual ability housing piece, like she's using it to freeze the area, so it looks like it channels powers. So right here we start to get a glimpse at what might look like actual gameplay. The way they're running, this is obviously simulated gameplay, okay? The third person, I think the camera angle, I think the Unreal 5 engine also has me very excited. So what they're showing us are the different abilities that you can use. So it's not just the shooter, the lasso, the fluidity, the 4 players. It's reminiscent of certain things in Outriders as well. It's almost like Outriders and Destiny and Anthem had a baby, is what it looks like to me. I don't know. I see a lot of promise with this title. I do. This to me looks like we could be staring at the next big looter shooter. I believe it. I do. I'm not like hyping this up. We've been kind of ignoring this one for a while. It was originally called Project Magnum. Now it's called the First Descendant, and appealing to the global market, going free to play, saying that they took inspiration from Destiny and The Division and Borderlands, and I mean they listed so many titles. I think this could be the game that I've been saying is being built, right? I've been saying over and over and over again, somebody, yeah, and a little bit of Warframe, definitely Warframe. Yeah, that scene there really got me excited. It's like, oh wow, you actually have like on-the-fly abilities that you can use to protect your teammates. This person here leaves behind turrets and just mows them down. The boss size looks really, really fun too. The boss size reminds me of some of the Anthem fights with really, really big arenas, like set up like a nice set piece to fight in. And then here you can see just all of the what they're promoting here is just a lot of fluidity and verticality in the combat, not just kind of like sitting on the ground. I actually think that was one of the things that hurt Outriders, is it made itself too much, linked to the ground-based, cover-based mechanics. No release date. Yeah, beta. The beta is around the corner. I've seen a lot of negative stuff about Nexon and how they treat their games. And they said that in the interview. They said that they've seen a lot of people that have a negative view of Nexon and their pay-to-win structure. So that has people super concerned that this title is going to fall into a similar trap. Their target release date is next year, 2023. Yes, it is targeting next year. So they're having a target release date of basically right around the corner. And beyond that, they're doing a beta this month. I think they're doing a beta in 14 days. Then the beta will include missions and raids. Looks like a mobile game. I didn't see a single thing in this that looks like a mobile game. It's literally a high graphic fidelity Unreal 5 game with crazy speed and agility. There's not anything in this trailer that looks like a mobile game. This looks like a very, very high performing next gen Unreal 5 game. Pay to win is always a slippery slope. Doesn't matter. Pay to win is just a FOMO trap every single time. This looks more fun than Outriders, but I can't help but see how similar it looks and makes me worried I won't find it as fun unless they give us a different endgame loop than Outriders. You know why I think Outriders has never been that fun as far as an endgame loop? I think the fights are all too similar, and when I look at fights with big, huge monsters and big, huge arenas, that makes me think of Anthem. Anthem's fights were freaking dope. Big, huge fights, big, huge set pieces and arenas. Guys, do me a favor. You came over from the first stream. We only need 20 more likes for 200 likes. Nice, strong start on the likes, guys. Thank you so much. That's been a struggle with our second streams. It looks like a real next-gen title, unlike the Dead Space one. It looks like they're running the beta October 20th through the 26th. The beta will start on Thursday, October the 20th at 3 a.m. in the morning Eastern. It runs until Wednesday, October the 26th. The upcoming beta will have a total of 10 playable characters from which to choose. Nexon said character class details are coming at a later date. So that's another really, really good potential win, is that there's 10 classes to choose from, right? 10 classes to choose from. That's a lot. A lot of depth. Yeah, Eugene, I saw that. Yeah, it looks like the Nezarec Sin helmet. 100%. I noticed that too. Yeah, and then the Ghost. They definitely look like they have taken direct inspiration from Destiny. I mean, the chick holding what literally looks like a ghost right out of Destiny. It's like, it's hard not to see it, right? Not an exact copy, but very similar. Right. Now, I don't think a horned helmet like that is unique to Destiny. I'm fairly certain there have been RPGs with horns going up like that prior to Destiny. I'm fairly certain there were helmets like that in Skyrim, maybe? I feel like I've played games before with horns like that, but it definitely looks like a very, very clear inspiration from Destiny. And the Traveler. Yes, there are trailers that look like they took inspiration from the Traveler. This big ball shows up and like warps itself into the ground. It doesn't like stay above the ground, I don't think. Arch Enigma hits a 14-month milestone, and it's a tier 2. Appreciate you so much, man. That's a long time. Hey, Lono, was waiting for you to cover this one for sure. Yeah, where's the other trailer? There was a Tokyo Game Show trailer that talked about the aesthetic of the characters. Is this the where's the one? Yeah, here's the other one from 2 months ago. I think this is the one that looks very much like they took inspiration from the Tower and the Traveler. I can't help but think that they're trying to like poke at Destiny folks and say, hey, come check our game out. Like this right here, watch this. This is actual in-game engine. Like, look at that. Like that right there. Some last bastion tower thing out in a remote area, and then some big ball comes down, right? And then this guy's on the ground. Some of this footage is when they were calling it Project Magnum. Some of the armor that reminds me of the Matrix, the little things that would like find their, like the sentinels that would find them. The tethering being used in the fight is dope. They're like chasing that guy. That reminded me a little bit of Scalebound. Just picked him up. Picked him up with some ice. It looks like there's going to be two. Like, there's some melee, so it's not purely guns, but there's guns, abilities, and some melee. That guy ran up there with like a freaking hammer axe thing. This guy's jumping up. A lot of over-the-shoulder gunplay, too. So definitely a shooter at its heart. Definitely a third-person shooter at its heart of hearts. Who's making this? It's called Magnum Studio. They're owned by Nexos or however you say it. Bit more gameplay-looking footage in this one. Looks sweet. Yeah. That camera shake. Yeah, and then see here comes the big orb, and the baddies are inside it or something. So undeniable that there's it's going to be a free-to-play game. Lots of inspiration from Destiny in the footage. Undeniable. Real question is, well, I need a 4090 to play this game. No, you won't. Nexon was Vindictus. Oh, they did Vindictus? Was that like a bad game? No, you will not need a killer graphics card to run this because they're making this cross-generational. This is going to run on the old-gen consoles. Did anyone play the beta? The beta starts in like 14 days. It's going to run from October 20th to the 26th. So the First Descendant Beta is coming. And it's not just like some intro beta. You're going to be able to play like the Endgame. The Unreal Engine is so much more properly optimized than any other engine. If you're in London, why not get a 4090 anyways? It's dirt cheap over there, says Abe. Vindictus was fun until they messed it up. Yeah, they specifically answered questions about pay to win. They did. They said, where do they mention that? Yeah, right here. This was in the interview. Release date, they're targeting a 2023 release date. So the First Descendant release date, or the Project Magnum release date, that's what they were originally calling it. They're targeting 2023. This is sort of an interview. They said, I believe that many players are curious and concerned about this, about pay to win. Since we have been running on the same track direction since the beginning of development, we were surprised to see that after our game reveals, many players were concerned about the excessive pay to win aspects of Nexon's games. Ultimately, we aspire not to pursue excessive pay to win aspects. So that means there's going to be pay to win aspects, right? It just won't be excessive. So I'm imagining that means buy gear, buy shortcuts, whatever. And then they said this. The monetization model that we will also not deviate significantly from games in the same genre. Paid products will indeed exist, but the characters, equipment, and stages that are needed for gameplay and progress in the game can be earned through gameplay. Okay, so what they're basically saying is you can earn everything, or you can pay to get stuff, right? So the question is, are they going to do the art of the squeeze? Obviously, my initial concern is, okay, I can earn everything, but are you going to do the art of the squeeze? Are you going to squeeze me until I have to buy stuff because I can't progress? It looks like they have a history of shutting down games, says Eugene. They aren't saying that you can't buy it. Oh, certainly not. Certainly not. Like, Diablo 4 went out of their way to be like, you can't buy equipment. You can't buy anything that will help you advance in the world. These guys are saying it's not going to be excessive. They're like, it's not going to be excessive. You're going to be able to buy stuff. You're going to be able to buy shortcuts, but it won't be excessive. And then they go on at the very end and they said, I would like to emphasize our most significant goal is to create an entertaining game and not force payment from our players. So they say they want to emphasize their most significant goal is that you don't feel like you have to spend money. They want it to be purely volitional. Because that's always the concern is, okay, well, sure, I can earn everything, but you're just going to structure the game to where I feel like I have to spend money, like I don't have a choice. Nexon's notorious for that. I won't say there's pay to win, but there's pay to progress. We're not gotcha, but we're a gotcha. Just copy Eververse while you're at it. Just sell cosmetics. People love cosmetics, especially in third person. That's what I'm saying. Dog, they wrote the book, Wheezy says, on shutting down games. That would have me more concerned than anything, says Eugene. I was trying to be nice because I'm not familiar with them, says Eugene. My outlook on games like this is always the same. Why not just make it free to play, super fun, and then just sell a junk ton of cosmetics, right? Why not do that? I don't understand. You don't need to do pay to progress. You don't need to do low level pay to win. You don't. All you got to do is make your game really, really fun, really, really pretty. And if people are having fun and enjoying your really pretty game, they'll buy the cosmetics, especially if it's third person and they can see their character and their character looks awesome. The player base they appeal to, they make so much money from doing that. They're $1 billion corporation, not million, but billion. Oh, they make a ton of mobile games. So I guess the question would be, if they make a ton of mobile games, why would they want to step into this market? Why would you want to step into the PC console market? Isn't the mobile game going to be better for them? This seems like a departure. This seems like a departure from what they typically do then. Why wouldn't you just stay over there on... Why wouldn't you just stay over there on mobile? That sounds like such a weird decision. Unless they see massive potential because of games like Destiny, and they're like, look, Bungie's built something so good. I'm just kind of scrolling through their various trailers right now. They've got 4 on their YouTube channel. It's literally their MO. They aren't mobile only. Oh, they do a lot of mobile, but they're not mobile only. Got it. They've had other PC MMOs. Okay, what's good, Light Leap? They have a bunch of games and they all fall in the same crappy vein. I can't stand them because of how predatory they are. The way that the devs are talking about it, Magnum Studio is the studio working on it. It sounds to me like they're going to follow the Lost Ark monetization pattern. Right? My theory is it's going to be like Lost Ark. It's going to have pay to progress elements that'll frustrate people, but by and large, I don't think it'll be like a Genshin, or it won't be like a Diablo Immortal. Do you think third person can ever compete with first person? I feel like third person just as a shooter is never satisfying. That's a good question, and we talked about that a little bit in the first stream, and I want to elaborate more now on what I was saying. I think a game like this has broader appeal with third person for a reason. I think third person appeals to fans of MMOs. And fans of MMOs, I think, are bigger than people that want a first person looter. I think it's a bigger audience. They said they want to tap into the global audience. Well, I think the global audience is more interested in seeing their character due to the popularity of MMOs. Eugene says it seems like they're aware of their reputation. That could be a good sign. Wheezy says, I think it will. It very much will. It's not what you say, it's what you don't say. Right, when they said there won't be excessive pay to win, well, then that means there will be pay to win. That means there will be pay to progress at the very least. I saw a lot of D2 content creators advertising this game, but if Lono's talking about it, my interest is piqued. You got to be careful with some of those Destiny guys, though, because a lot of them, I know at least one of them jumped on the Genshin train. because it was paying the bills, and Genshin's model is terrible, right? I could have made really, really good money and really grew the channel and got a lot of views continuing to cover Diablo Immortal, and I stopped because I couldn't do it. I couldn't cover that game and continue to promote it and keep a clean conscience. I thought the model was incredibly scummy. I'll do the same thing with this game. If this game comes out and I'm like, this is awful, right? I'll play it, I'll chop it up, I'll progress some characters, we'll pick apart the systems, and if we discover that the system is bad, I'll shred it and walk away. I won't do that. I can't do that, especially if games like this are notorious for that. That'd be the concern too, is like, well, they'll just squeeze the crap out of it, make a ton of money, and then they'll drop the game. They can say a lot. They can never say they won't do something, but I will wait to see what they actually implement, says Abe. Nexon has a track record for a reason. The fact that they actually speak to the track record in the interview, I thought was pretty interesting. Right? I thought it was pretty interesting. They spoke to the track record in the interview. They're like, people are worried about Nexon's practices. Like so apparently Project Magnum, Magnum Studio feels like they can say that, yeah, many players were concerned about the excessive pay-to-win aspects of Nexon's games. They said that in the interview. So they might be like, look, man, we're a Nexon game, but we're not doing that. You know what I mean? We're not doing that. They said, ultimately, we aspire not to pursue excessive pay-to-win aspects. It's almost like, yeah, they just said excessive pay-to-win aspects are in Nexon games, and they're like, ultimately, we are aspiring not to pursue that. The problem is at what level could Nexon come in and say, no, you need to do it. You need to put it in there. That's what we want. They could, like right now, the Magnum Studio could be saying, we are not wanting to do that. Okay? We are pushing back on the notion, and we don't want to do that with our game, and we're going to show you how much money we can make to not do it. Okay? And then they could be saying, that's fine. If you hit these numbers, we're good with that. A free-to-play, cross-generationally supported, cross-platform supported game could make a junk ton of money and not need to do any pay-to-win. It could just make a ton of money off of cosmetics. But if they fail to hit certain numbers, I could totally see the Nexon coming in and be like, we want you to change the monetization structure. Nexon's just the publisher, correct? I think they bought the developer. Magnum Studio. I think it's Magnum Studios or Magnum Games. It's probably Magnum Game Studio. Magnum Game Studio is a Malaysian indie game company behind Legend, the most funded Kickstarter video game in Southeast Asia. That might be a different company. Oh, that's Magnus. I'm sorry, that's the wrong thing. Magnum Game Studio. The interview called them Magnum Studio. So they might have another... Hang on. Magnum Studio Nexon. If Magnum Studios is to be believed, I don't know if it's plural then. It might be plural. It's such a generic name. Nexon launches new studio. Nexon Games, which takes over Project Magnum. Okay, Video Game Chronicles got a report on it. Let's see what the story is here. See if we can't get at least some theory crafting around how this game might be handled. According to Video Game Chronicle, Video Games Republic, the Japanese group Nexon, in the top 10 of the largest video game groups, did not yet have a named studio, Nexon Games. It's now fixed. The merger, They tides up the box of subsidiaries. The Japanese publisher has decided to bring together two studios to create a new one, Nexon Games. So this is going to be under their new studio name, Nexon Games. The merger vote happened on February 8th of 2022. The merger would allow the project to orient itself a little more online on PC. Recently, the group decided to inject its enormous annual profits back into big studios like Bandai, Konami, Sega in order to help them move towards more game services and online, Nexon's core business. Wait, so is Nexon the parent studio behind Bandai, Konami, and Sega Sammy? Am I reading that correctly? They're saying recently the group decided to inject its enormous annual profits back into big studios like Bandai, Konami, and Sega Sammy. I'm not reading that correct. So what group is this? The Japanese group Nexon, with sprawling subsidiaries, did not yet have a named studio, Nexon Games. It is now fixed, since the parent company announced the merger of Korean development arm Nexon GT with another Korean studio, Nat Games. The merger will be voted on at the board of directors. This end paragraph is so weird. The merger would allow the project to orient itself a little more for online on PC. Recently, the group decided to inject its enormous annual profits back into big studios like Bandai Namco, Konami, and Sega Sammy. Are they investors? This could be translated very poorly. Like, this could have been written in another language or something. I don't know. They're saying like these other companies do. Okay, I see. Yeah. They're deciding to inject their enormous annual profits back into big studios, just like Bandai, Konami, and Sega Sammy have done. Okay, that's a really poorly written sentence. I was like, what the frick? Do they own all those studios? Okay, got it. Sorry. Okay. Free-to-play tells me to watch out for punishingly slow and uninteresting progression. I'll keep an eye on the beta and early release reviews. I'm concerned about the character unlocking stuff. It sounds like it could really end up with the Marvel Contest of Champions model, where you have to have a new character and then it gets nerfed and the next character releases. Yeah, the beta itself is going to have 10 classes, 10 characters to choose from. If they're aware of Nexon's track record, I wonder why they would say they were surprised to see people were concerned. Well, I think they were surprised that people were concerned because listen to the phrasing. They said, since we have been running on the same track direction since the beginning of development, we were surprised to see that after our game reveal, many players were concerned about the excessive pay-to-win aspects of Nexon's games. So they're basically saying, We were just literally showing our great game, and we've been on the same track path and plan since the beginning. We didn't expect everybody to say this. Like, in their mind, they're like, our game's going to be different. We're not going to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Could we get 30 more likes on the video? You guys came out really strong for this second show. Thank you so much for being here. We are talking about the First Descendant. It could be the next big looter. That has been my contention. What's the one that we were watching? What's the name of this one? The 3-minute long one. It's the Gamescom one. Yeah, this one. Let me put them in order. We've been kind of watching the trailers, and the concern about pay to win's the central topic right now. Yo, my man Gritter coming in hot, gifting 5 memberships. Phil, Vigil, Picard, Hawk, Kareem, you guys all got a gifted membership. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you got alerts turned on. Make sure you don't miss out on members-only talk shows that we do every day, as well as our members-only Discord. Going to wait until 2 months after it's released before I look at playing, see what the pay aspect is. I mean, how could they define excessive? Are we not going to say Destiny Killer? Your house, your rules? I don't think there's ever going to be a Destiny Killer. I think the only Destiny Killer alive is Bungie. The only Destiny Killer is the person who holds the Switch. And that's Bungie. I don't think there will ever be a Destiny killer. Now, why do I think this game has the potential to be bigger and more commercially successful than Destiny? Because they're trying to appeal to a global audience. And if this game appeals to the global audience and it hits PC, every generation of console available right now, and it's an Unreal 5, they could end up putting it on mobile as well if it's a smash hit, and it would be so much bigger than Destiny. Right? Like, you don't need to try to compete with Destiny if you're going for the global gaming market. If you're going for the global gaming market, Destiny's not even on your radar. That would be like asking if Lost Ark's going to compete with Destiny. Lost Ark is a freaking whale compared to Destiny. Destiny's been very successful, but it's like, well, we actually don't know how successful Destiny's been in the market because they have a completely different monetization structure in, is it the Korean market? So we don't actually know about that. Like, we actually don't know. Like, Destiny actually has a completely different version of its game in the, I believe in the Korean market where they sell exotics. So who knows what kind of money they're making over there. But this game out of the box has the potential to, I think, be like Lost Ark. I think this game has the potential to be like Lost Ark. Just massive, immediate, global appeal, enormous player funnel, and everybody got really angry about Lost Ark's pay structure and pay to progress, and it didn't hurt Lost Ark at all. Plenty of people playing, plenty of people enjoying the game, loving the game, enjoying the updates. I had people coming to me and be like, why aren't you covering the game anymore? And I couldn't keep up. I didn't care about the monetization structure in Lost Ark. You think they're comfortable with copying so much of the Destiny elements because they aren't going after Destiny players at all? A new crowd wouldn't see it as a copy. Yeah, the global market that's looking for games like this, especially third-person games, more action-oriented games, probably won't even be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this looks like, a Destiny ghost, or oh my gosh, I can't believe that helmet looks like a Destiny exotic. UE5 compared to Destiny's engine aren't even in the same solar system. Well, and that's the thing. I'm not interested in seeing like, oh, what game out there could be better than Destiny or compete with Destiny. I've just continued to say that I believe somebody right now is building the next big looter shooter because I don't think anybody's done it. I don't. It's almost like, let's say you have, you're coaching a soccer team or a football team. And your best player is good, but your best player is not an all-star, okay? And you've had some other people get on the team, and they've tried to be better than that player, or they've tried to be the all-star, and they haven't cut the mustard, right? You're kind of waiting for that all-star player. I feel like in the realm of looter shooters, Destiny has been the best. Nobody has trumped it. Nobody's climbed above it to be the best ongoing looter shooter. Division, Anthem, a handful of games have tried, Outriders, and have fundamentally failed, right? But Destiny, I don't think, is an S-tier game. I think it's an A-level game. They've got their rhythm. They've got their content. They've got their audience. It makes great money. It's been very good for Bungie. It is the most successful live service looter shooter available, okay? And I've continued to say, a ton of people, a ton of developers out there are watching Destiny and The Division and Anthem, and they've watched these live service games rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall, and the only one that's still trucking and still has a healthy content funnel is Destiny. And I've always said somebody's going to build the next big looter shooter. Somebody's going to do it. It's only a matter of time before. I said the same thing when I played Fortnite. I remember playing PUBG, and PUBG was massively popular, and it was the king on the block for Battle Royale. And I said, all it's going to take is for somebody to make a better version of this, and this game will fall to the wayside. It will. Right? There you go. Same card. That's the expiration. That's the expiration date and everything they need. Division's still hanging around too, but I hear what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, nobody's doing the best job. Somebody right now is looking at what Destiny's done and what Division's done and Anthem and Outriders and even Borderlands and even Diablo 3. And there is somebody right now building the next big looter shooter. Somebody's doing it. I think the First Descendant might be that. Now, is there concern about monetization? Of course. The company that owns the brand, the company that owns the development studio is known for pay to win. This company's saying there won't be excessive pay to win. That basically means there will be some. I think it'll probably be more akin to Lost Ark. Lost Ark had pay to progress, and people got really upset about it, but that game's doing just fine. And there's plenty of people that play it, and they're like, it didn't hurt my experience. It didn't make me feel like I had to spend money. I have a perfectly fine time playing Lost Ark. Plenty of people play that game and never once get out their credit card. What about Diablo 4? Diablo 4 is not a looter shooter. Elder Scrolls Online is not a looter shooter. Those games will certainly come. Diablo 4 is probably going to be the next big ongoing live service loot-based game, but it ain't a looter shooter. So I think that this game could be the next big looter shooter. Why? Because they're targeting a global audience. And if there's one thing this company does know how to do, it's how to make a lot of money from a property. Now, they also have a record of killing projects. They also have a record of charging and doing pay to win. Lost Ark has toned their stuff way down. So if they go the way of the Lost Ark, that's a win. What about Warframe? They said they've taken a lot of inspiration from Warframe. Like, if you watch the trailer, it's hard not to see Warframe, Anthem, Outriders, Destiny. Yeah, I even see a little bit of Gears of War in the armor. Yeah. No PvP has been announced, no. Creature thinks because they mentioned PvE, they would only do that because there's going to be PvP. I don't necessarily agree with that. They're targeting a launch date of 2023. The games they have killed, what criteria have they used to make that decision? I'm not sure. If Wheezy's still here, he might be able to help us figure out why they shut down so many games. It just reads funny. The reason I think they're doing that, though, Creature, is because that's familiar to people who play games like this. Like, if you're making missions and raids, and you're like, we're going to be constantly tweaking and adjusting the classes and the weapons and the PvE content. Instead of saying, we're going to be adjusting the missions and the raids and the monster fights. Like, everything gets under that umbrella of PvE. Wheezy says money. If the games aren't making enough money or the player base drops into a point they don't like, they kill the game. So they put down popular games that aren't making enough money. I would imagine it's probably hard to have a game that's popular that's not making enough money. If it's popular, it's probably making money. If there's no PvP, isn't the entire game PvE? Why reference it that way? Because when you read a blog post about changes in a game, they will literally say, here are changes we made to weapons. Here are changes we made to classes. Here are changes we made to PvE. Like, they'll do that because your weapons and your classes are not PvE. The game needs competitive PvP or it's going to die. False. Destiny's chuckling at you. It's never had competitive PvP. It's had, like, arcade-ish arena-style PvP for the life cycle of its game, and it's never died without having competitive PvP. It's the antithesis to competitive PvP. It's arcade-ish arena-style PvP. Like, it's not an arena, but it's arena-style. Like, it's small, set-piece arenas. Like, you don't need competitive PvP to survive. That's not true. There's plenty of games that launch without PvP. You don't need PvP to survive. This guy says, Nexon's reputation is so crap, now there's really nothing they can do to change it other than launch a game under a different company name. Most knowledgeable gacha vets won't spend money on Nexon games anymore. I have a gaming group, and I know many whales. Every time Nexon game is released, the reaction is easy skip from everyone. Maybe that's why they're trying to target the non-mobile market. Maybe they're trying to, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to fix their reputation. Like, hey, we launched a free-to-play looter shooter, and everybody's loving it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. If the audience is turned on them, something you're saying, Wheezy, let me flip it upside down. If they've continued to try to do pay-to-win mobile games, and they keep having to shut them down because they're not making good money, maybe they're deciding to take a different route. And they're like, what if we go the route of like games like Destiny or games like Lost Ark? We don't need excessive pay-to-win. Sell cosmetics, have some pay-to-skip, and make way more money. Like, what if the rhythm of their games launching, dying, and getting canceled and not making enough money, what if that rhythm has quite literally made them say, we need to change our ways? Like, you got to dial this back. It's burning players out. No one even wants to play our games now because of it. Free to play, let them try. If they F it up, kill them for it. You didn't lose anything. Right. I would believe that if they haven't released other gacha and pay-to-win games in the past couple of months. Don't think you need competitive PvP, but it's a community you don't want to neglect in a game service MMO. I actually think you do need to neglect them. I don't think they're good for your game. I'm not like mean to PvP players, right? But when this is your game trailer and this is your game's POV and vision, I think worrying about PvP players and acting like, oh, you can't ignore them. No, I think you want to ignore them because I think they would come into a game like this and they would ruin it. Because they would ask for nerfs and buffs and adjustments all the time, and it's just frustrating to deal with. Have a central identity and have a central game's core, and don't worry about the cannibalistic behavior of PvP players. Like, I don't know. I've not seen any game, like, literally, I don't even follow Destiny, and my Twitter feed was full of people talking about another round of buffs and nerfs that made everybody angry. Like, I can almost guarantee you we'll have PvP. If you know Nexon. Well, if they have a pattern of doing PvP, that's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying I don't think you need it. I don't. I think you can have games like this that don't ever bother with that. It's one of the main reasons. It's one of the main reasons that, like, New World's had its problems. It's one of the main reasons that I think Ashes of Creation will have problems. One of the primary debates always in games like this is PvP players are constantly asking for buffs and nerfs, and the PvE starts to become like this. Well, wait, what about us? What about us? I don't know. I don't think you need PvP. I believe PvP quickly turns into, like, degenerate behavior, cannibalistic behavior. If you're going to do PvP, you need an adequate ranking system, you need competitive funnels, you need playgrounds for them to go spend their time. Because if you don't, they'll just end up cannibalizing any playlist that you have, any semblance of gameplay that you have, instead of just having, like, a great ongoing RPG live service game. Like, look at the success of Diablo 3 and tell me that you need PvP to have a successful ongoing loot-based live service game. You don't need PvP. You don't. There are games that do just fine without it. There are games that do just fine without it. Yeah, I agree with Cody. If you're going to do it like Lost Ark, make everything baseline and balance everything out. But the problem there, Cody, is you still get into metagaming, and then that turns into a nerf buff pendulum swing. You're still getting into the pendulum swing of nerf buff, This is too strong, this is too strong, blah, blah, blah. Now, you get into metagaming in PvE 2. You're still going to get into metagaming in PvE 2. Like, Outriders ran into that. To the point, like, certain classes couldn't even play because people didn't want to play with them. I have many worries about this game, says Mike Quad. Pay to win, sure. They say that it's not excessive, but games always look for the path of least resistance, therefore making it feel like pay to win. It doesn't even have a release date, but the beta is only on PC, and it's cross-gen game. I'm already for the last gen to be left behind. We're coming up on 2 years now, and I don't remember cross-gen phase-out lasting this long. How can we expect top-of-the-line games that play on PS4 and Xbone? Because it's Unreal 5. You can play plenty top-of-the-line PC games that have been optimized to run on weak PCs, Mike. We've been through this 10 times over. You can play a top-of-the-line PC game right now that's been optimized to run on a weak PC. So you can play a top-of-the-line game that's been optimized to run on an old-gen console. You also have to remember that it's 2022, and games like this have been in development for a while. They're just supposed to suddenly shutter and shut down all their work for old-gen because why? Like, I've never seen one take this long. What do you mean? We're 2 years in, bro. Console shifts take a lot longer than that, and this is a console shift that happened on the heels of a global situation that was not foreseen by anybody. Non-excessive pay-to-win doesn't mean the same thing to an Eastern company as it does to a Western one. That's a good point, Spriggan. All depends on the content at release and how quickly they bring out new content. If you have to play the same PvE content for a year, it gets boring, and that is when the PvP kicks in. I'll never deny that it's going to be really, really hard to maintain a content funnel, because a content funnel is always, I think, going to be tough to maintain because people play content really, really fast. People play content really excessively, and when they do that, you're constantly going to be dealing with, they're out of content, they're bored. So you got to go with the seasonal format. Well, you go with the seasonal format, then people are going to start claiming that, well, you know, it's too thin, it's not substantive, I didn't get enough. My hope would be that they would like run regular seasons of like missions and raids, and like that would be sort of the centerpiece. Nexon has a track record that lasts for like 20 years. I don't think they will ever change at this point. What's classified as pay to win in the East is Oceans Apart, says Wheeze. Yeah, that's what that one person just said. Spriggan said that. He says non-excessive pay to win doesn't mean the same thing to an Eastern company as it done to a Western one. The filler season, I hear you, but I feel like this kind of only showed up before with a season that was stretched out by months. This is a stretched season. That's the question. If one of the companies actually successfully doing an ongoing live service looter shooter is still having to do stretch seasons, is that unavoidable? And there's been issues, but the concerns haven't shown up any quicker than normal. I just wonder if it's unavoidable. Are you always going to have stretch seasons in games like this? Guys, if you're enjoying the content, hit subscribe so you can talk in my chat. Make sure you're on live chat so you can see what everybody is saying. A top chat is not where you want to be. And make sure you're smashing that like button. Let's set our sights on 400 likes. We're having a really, really good second stream. I'm excited about this game. Like, I think this game could be awesome. But the publisher's track record and the monetization and the pay to win, it's all concerning. It is. It's all very, very concerning, because it's like this could literally be a game that does all of the things that people hate and still have amazing gameplay. Like, I felt that way about Diablo Immortal. It was like the gameplay loop was great, but I didn't like the pay to win. Cross-platform games have always been like this, 2 or 3 years in before everyone leaves the old systems. First party might leave day one to sell the new system. Right, it's always going to be a slow adoption process. Like, it's never going to be immediate. It should default to live chat. You should just be able to check a box when you switch from top chat and live chat and say, make this my default. Like, that should just be something personal to the user. You know what I mean? Like, during live events, it makes sense. Like, actually, the streamer should be able to set it. The streamer should be able to set it. I should be able to say, like, oh, hey, we're doing a live event today, so I want everybody to default to top. And if you want to switch off top, fine. Or I want everybody to default to live. You know, what's good, Hawk and Rain? Is it already confirmed to be pay to win? I mean, they basically admitted there'll be pay to win elements in the game, yes. They said, we aspire not to pursue excessive pay to win aspects. The monetization model will not deviate significantly from games in other genres. Paid products will exist, but the characters, equipment, and stages that are needed for gameplay and progress are earned through gameplay. So they're basically saying you're going to be able to do pay to progress. Otherwise, some people call pay to win, pay to progress are interchangeable. In my mind, pay to win is when you're buying an advantage to beat another player. Like, if I buy an XP boost and I level up faster than you, but I can't play against you, then who the frick cares? A $5 tip from EmpReb. Thank you for the $5 tip. I like what I see, but Plan 8 with the backing of the people behind Black Desert seems promising over this, even though Plan 8's been radio silence. I've not even heard of Plan 8 up to now. What is that? How's the worldwide outlook of pay to progress? Is it looked down upon? So, Lost Ark has pay to progress in it. And many people got angry, called it pay to win. You know, they threw flags on the field and said, this is a foul on the play, right? I have 74 new activities on the Clock app. What in the world happened over there? Oh, golly. My Cyberpunk video spun up like a top. Jiminy Christmas. Plan 8 is an exosuit MMO shooter. Okay. So, like, people got really angry. They called it pay to win. They criticized Lost Ark, and then everybody just shut up about it because nobody cared. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody cared. Like, everybody moved on. They were like, okay, what's the Clock app? Like you'd call it, it rhymes with click clock. So, like, I think everybody got really angry, and then Lost Ark just settled in. And some of their updates dialed some of it down. And the people that continue to play were like, look, it's not that bad. Like, I don't need to spend money. I can play Lost Ark. They equalize equipment in PvP, so it doesn't give me an advantage in PvP. They shut up about it because Lost Ark changed the way the system works, says Creature. There's no winner. It's not last man standing. Oh, Tarkov's not a BR. Oh. Am I missing something? Why don't you just say that? YouTube doesn't seem to like it when I say that. Like, we've literally had blips and server drops when I've mentioned that platform. Like, I don't think they like people promoting that platform. I'm not kidding you. There was a time where it seemed like almost every time I mentioned that platform, I would get dropped by my ingest server. It's like, YouTube really frowns upon going live or putting videos on their platform and saying, hey, check me out, I'm streaming over here. Da-da-da-da-da-da. They don't like that. So I think sometimes they get a little triggered by certain words. That's why I don't mention the purple platform's name either. I don't think they particularly like it. Guys, keep smashing that like button. Let's set our sights on 400. We're having that same experience where we just can't get out of the first hour for some reason, and I think this is a great topic. I think this title is going to be popular. I think there's plenty of people that are probably looking for coverage of this game. I would like to cover it and play it. It may end up being like Diablo Immortal. We cover it, we play it, I decide I don't like the monetization structure, and I walk away. That is entirely possible. We ran into that with Immortal, and I walked away from that title. I said, nope, done. I'm done. I don't want to cover it. So even if this game is popular and good for the channel, I won't stay on it. I won't continue covering it if I feel like it's pay to win. I won't do it. I've heard some people claim it's pay to win. Well, it's not out yet, right? Oh, is Warframe considered pay to win? Oh, yeah, Warframe is pay to skip, pay to progress. Yes, there are elements of Warframe where you spend money to skip, basically like waiting, essentially. Warframe definitely features pay to progress options. Yeah, it does. It does. Will there be Destiny style raids? They describe the raids as big boss raids. Then the bosses have gimmicks that you must strategize around and interact with. Like, you can't just go in and shoot a boss a bunch. You have to strategize and do its 4-player co-op. And they said that the big boss raids are literally designed around co-op. So the First Descendant gameplay, like the content loop, is missions and raids. Raids have a normal and a hard difficulty. Raids are not designed to be played by yourself. And the rest of the game you can play solo if you like. If I were to try this game, definitely not investing any money until it's clear that they're in it for the long haul. Yeah, I wouldn't spend a dime in a game like this either. Like, I might do like a battle pass or like a season pass or something just because I want to be able to like show that part off. I did that in Immortal. I don't have any qualms with dropping money on something like a battle pass or a season pass, but I would not interact with any pay to progress, pay to skip mechanics. I would try to avoid those to show like, okay, I did that in Lost Ark, right? It's like, I don't feel like I'm going to need to spend any money on that. I'm just going to play the core game. And I had a great time in Lost Ark. The only reason I stopped playing Lost Ark is I just didn't have time to dedicate to like an actual MMO. I just didn't have the time for it. All I'm going to say is if the raids have 3 people, I'm going to throw a fit again. It looks like the raids are 4 players, Zubair. Off topic, 14-minute new trailer. Got me hyped. Actually making changes this time. I can't cover that game. That game's well outside of my wheelhouse. If you're just tuning in, we're covering The First Descendant, formerly known as Project Magnum, and I'm saying that this could be the next big looter shooter. Warframe's not pay to win. They give plenty of gameplay loops for you to plat, which is the premium currency, and the different weapons and Warframes. This is Eternal Darkness. This is why I've always said you can't call pay to progress pay to win because it gets confusing. It just gets confusing. It's better to have different terms. Because there's a giant difference between the pay to progress elements of Lost Ark and the pay to win elements in Immortal. What typically happens with Nexon is they announce a great-looking game, it's popular for a few months, and the next time you hear about it, it's being shut down. Wheezy says that's the blanking truth. Well, the dilemma is, this game has all the hallmarks and all the markings of a Nexon game. It looks great. It's tapping into gameplay loops and gameplay styles that people like. Third person, action adventure. It's clearly got inspirational marks from, Destiny and Anthem and Outriders. It does. And The Division. It literally could be, hey, let's do some gamer buffet action adventure puke into the Unreal 5 engine and get a bunch of people excited and let's make a bunch of money. Now, I'm going to say something that sounds like I'm like preemptively defending the game, but I'm more theory crafting here. Something that gives me hope about the longevity of this game is the fact that they ported it from Unreal 4 to Unreal 5. I happen to think that they would not have done that if they saw this game being a short road. If they saw this game being a short road, they would have left it in Unreal 4. Unreal 4 is very agile. It works great on old gen. It works great on new gen. It works great on mobile. They would have kept everything Unreal 4 and then have shoved it out, monetized the frick out of it, and then done what you guys have said. The fact that they essentially halted production and moved everything over to Unreal 5 tells me they're committed to this game more than previous titles. That's not me defending Nexon, by the way. I'm just trying to theory craft around what we know. Like, They said, listen to what they said about Unreal. We started developing the First Descendant with the latest version of Unreal Engine 4. Unreal Engine 5 was released during our development, and our dev team became highly interested in its visual quality. Although I was a bit concerned, since the development had already progressed a lot at this point, I decided to boldly upgrade our game to Unreal 5 for the best visual quality. The main reason for the upgrade is the nanite and lumen of the Unreal Engine 5. In particular, we believe that lighting quality provided by Lumen, a real-time global illumination solution, is essential for next-gen projects. Now, everyone on the team is delighted with the results. Like, why would they do that if they were just trying to crank out money from another throwaway title? The change from UE to UE5 is a lot easier. Right, I'm not saying that it's hard, Wheezy, but listen to the reasoning. They want this to have the best lighting. They want it to look like a next gen. Like, they want it to be a top shelf title. Like, that sounds like, hey, let's do this. This is going to be extra work. Just because it's easier than it previously was doesn't mean it's extra work. If this was a throwaway title to make a ton of money, why would they spend more money on that aspect? Does that make sense? Like, they would just say, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be Unreal 5. It doesn't need to be next gen. We're gonna squeeze the crap out of this thing for 6 months, and then we're gonna walk away. You know what I'm saying? We just hit the 1 hour and 10 minute mark, and YouTube's like, hey, now's a good time to run ads. Now would be a good time for us to hit 400 likes. Smash that like button, guys. We only need 40 more to hit 400. I'd really sink my teeth into another looter shooter. I hope you're right, but I'm skeptical. Vindictus did look amazing for its time also. Yeah, somebody brought up Vindictus already today, saying that, like, Nexon is notorious for this type of thing. With a quick glance, I thought you typed, I like applesauce. I was like, that's so wheezy. Like, that's applaudable. I like applesauce. Investing more into the game makes it seem less likely to be a pump and dump. That's what I'm saying. I understand the apprehension, I understand the concerns, but the fact that they invested in quality and they said, we think this global lighting system is paramount to building a next-gen game, that just doesn't sound like a pump and dump. That doesn't mean they won't pump and dump. It doesn't mean they won't say, not making enough money, kill it. Like, they still might say that, but it doesn't seem like that's the plan. That to me bodes like a little bit better than where we've been thinking. Like, okay, this is actually something they want to invest in long term. We can take a look at this game. Advertising to push the product. I might be jaded, but it sounds like propaganda. Oh, come on. Talking about the Unreal Engine is not what this game is going to get sold on. Pete Hines has been promoted to Bethesda's head of global publishing. I like Pete Hines anytime he's done an interview, so that's probably, I don't know, that's probably good. Ultimately, Nexon, it boils down to money. If the game doesn't make money, it'll find itself shelved relatively fast. All right. Let me pull out a discussion question then here. I'm curious if you guys think free-to-play games can work as a looter live service, because this seems to be the equation every time. This seems to be the equation every time. It's free to play. It's a looter live service. And what ends up walking in the room? Oh, you can buy stuff. You can buy gear. You can buy progress. And everybody gets angry. Now, Lost Ark is seemingly doing just fine. Nexon is the most comical in how they have approached handling games. They're like the stereotypical evil corporation. Right. It sounds like they look at games like a product, not a passion project. Like, hey, we're committed to this. We want this thing to succeed. Like, they would have murdered Halo Infinite. They would have murdered D1, Destiny 1. They would have murdered Cyberpunk. Right? They'd have been like, no, who cares? And here's the thing. When you get to their size, that's probably the right way to approach it, right? You get to their size, you think that they don't care. Everything's a means to an end of profit. Why should they care at that size? Like, I'm not defending what they're doing. I'm just saying when you're at their size, they can't afford to be like, oh, well, let's give the game another chance. No. We've hit as much money as we're going to make out of that thing. Kill the project. Move on to something else. It's almost like venture capitalists, right? Like, oh, yeah, invest in that, invest in that, invest in that. The minute something's not profitable, a venture capitalist is going to be like, yeah, I'm pulling out. There are several looter shooters with paid items that aren't exactly pay to win and are doing fine. It just depends on how far they go in that direction. Their main competitor's free to play. Why couldn't they make the game a one-time premium purchase, I wonder? I mean, Destiny converted itself into a free to play game. That's something to consider. Each game is a pull in the slot machine. Keep pulling. Yeah, they're just waiting for they're waiting for the triple cherries to line up. Seems like the biggest downfall to most of the looter shooters has been lack of endgame loot or technical issues. Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. Like, how else are you supposed to keep people playing? Well, you need loot. Well, the conundrum with looter shooters is always going to be the same thing. It's always going to be the same thing. This is it right here. The general problem that faces all looter shooters is you motivate people to play to get loot. That loot then therefore matters to them. How do you get them to want more loot? You have to make the new loot better in some aspect, and now you're dancing on the line of invalidating what they previously chased. Creating an ever-present, inexhaustible desire to chase and get loot is incredibly challenging. It's why the format with seasons in Diablo 3 seems to be the winning formula going forward, because it always gives you that fresh experience and there's new things to chase, and a lot of it's cosmetic. It's not really free to play to this degree. It's free to try and then see if you want to pay more. Yeah, it's like a free entrance point. It's not like, yeah, like this game's going to be totally free, and then if you want to buy stuff, you can, but you don't need to buy anything. You just can play. Like, all corporations care about money. I've never said that's bad. I've said that's how Nexon handles games, and it's been unnerving to just about anyone. I don't know if it's totally possible to do free-to-play for a looter, says Eugene. Is Lost Ark free-to-play? Yeah, isn't Lost Ark free-to-play? Like, you just download it and play, don't you? Or is there an entrance point? I think you can buy like a pack, or you could buy, what were they, like founders packs or whatever? But I don't think you have to buy the game, do you? It's just a free game. They had those like founders packs, I think they were called. The problem with calling Destiny free to play, though, Creature, is you are always going to hit a wall in that game where content's inaccessible to you. That doesn't happen in Lost Ark. That's not going to happen in this game. Does that make sense? Like, there's always a portion of Destiny that's walled off from you. That's not really free to play in the traditional sense. The traditional sense of free to play is like you download Lost Ark and you don't have to spend a dime to go or do anything. You just go and play. But with Destiny, it's like, yep, you can play. You can play. Yep. Okay, you're out of free stuff now. Now you got to pay for more. So it's a very condensed piece of content. Like, and that's the question that I'm asking. The reason I'm asking the question that I'm asking is, how substantive do you think the content add-ons are going to be in a looter shooter that's not charging you for anything? Right? Destiny charges you for the ongoing content, right? This game doesn't sound like it's going to. Lost Ark doesn't. That's always the question. If you go totally free to play and you're never charging a premium for your ongoing content, how good is that content going to be? Is it going to start to feel like cookie cutter, copy pasta? Is it going to start to feel like, yep, It's just a very predictable, you know, formulaic add-on of like, here's a couple raids, here's a couple missions, and some seasonal cosmetics. Now, sometimes that's all you need because your player base is perfectly happy and fine, and they just want to kill more baddies and get more stuff. Like a free-to-play player would eventually end up hitting a paywall to prevent the player's progress on a free-to-play game. Well, that's what most people are always scared about in a game like this. Oh, I can earn everything, but you are going to let me buy things. Well, it sounds like you're going to squeeze me so that I feel like I have to spend money to progress. Right? These guys keep emailing me. It's like once you start growing on YouTube, people reach out because they want a slice of your ad revenue. They're like, we help creators grow. Yeah, you help creators grow by being a predator and pulling their ad revenue percentages from them and offering them generic tools. It's like as soon as you hit decent thresholds on YouTube, man, freaking cockroaches come out of the woodwork. I think they need questionably microtransactions to be completely free to play. Wheezy says, I played Nexon games, Vindictus, and seen enough Nexon games to know how crap they are over 15 plus years of dealing with their games like MapleStory. If I get any sense that I need to pay to progress, I'm out. Pay to win is different from having the option. Right, and that's why Lost Ark, I think people just eventually got over it. I think people just got over it in Lost Ark. They were like, I can play. I don't have to spend any money. I don't have to spend any money. It's fine. Well, not everyone, but definitely more people would buy more cosmetics if the base game and the DLCs were free. I think the tried and true formula of just making an awesome content loop and content and then selling cosmetics and selling season passes, just do that. I tell you what the problem is. Do you want to know what the problem is? Players are the problem. I'm dead serious. It's not the companies. It's not the companies. It's the players that are the problem. There are players in the global gaming community. They've ruined gaming, not the companies. Because the companies have thrown out pay to win, pay to shortcut, and people have paid for it. And the reason that it's profitable is because of the players. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't profitable. They do it because it's profitable, and it's profitable because players do it. The reason they look at a game and they don't say, oh, let's just do cosmetics and a battle pass, that's a great way to generate revenue. The reason they don't do that is because players are like, no, let me spend money to cheat, basically. Let me spend money for power. Let me spend money for shortcuts. Like, the problem is not there's all these greedy overlords. It's that gamers have basically said, we are willing to give you way more money if you put this nonsense in the game. It's almost like players look at a game and say, just cosmetics and a battle pass? Where's all the pay to win? I'm willing to pay to win. Put pay to win in the game, and I will line your pockets with gold. That's the problem. It's like there's this insidious pocket of the gaming community that lets this thing live, and that's why it's here. It'll never go away. Genshin Impact was the first shoe fits moment, Wheezy said. I said that 2 years ago. Right, I remember when Genshin came out, Wheezy's like, this is bad. He said Genshin being successful in the West is bad. That's why when I saw YouTubers backing that game and supporting that game and making money off of it, it's like, you don't give a frick about gaming. You're just trying to get paid. Like, you are literally selling your soul to the devil because you're like, well, you know, this'll help expedite and trash the Western gaming market, but hey, I'm making good ad revenue, so let's go. Being successful in the West was the worst possible, and now we have to live with the fallout. Whales need fish to feed. Don't blame the whales. What do you mean? Lamborghini didn't make an SUV to be true to their mission. They did it because people were ready to give them money for an SUV. Gamers wouldn't have thought pay to win if the devs didn't add it. Well, sure, but like if you went to like one of the most popular restaurants in the world, let's just go with McDonald's. If you walked into McDonald's tomorrow and they said, "Hey, the bun's $1, the burger's $1, the lettuce is $1, the ketchup's $1, everything's $1. Put together your burger." And you're like, "This is so dumb. It's going to be so expensive." Yeah, every single slice of onion is a nickel. Every single pickle is a quarter. You'd be like, "What the frick is going on here?" Right? And generally speaking, the market would respond negatively to that, and McDonald's would walk back the decision. Right? They would walk back the decision. They'd be like, "This is killing our revenue. This is so counterproductive and stupid. The consumer response is bad." You think they just threw out pay to win in a vacuum? Yeah, let me just get 5 patties. I don't need anything else. Just throw those greasy patties in the bag. Yeah, they'd rebrand to McDollar. So that's the point, right? They didn't come up with pay to win in a vacuum. They tested it. They did market research. It's human beings, gamers, are the reason that pay to win got pushed out. Fredo says, "Do you think streamers have some effect on pay to win? Most of them don't have time to play to progress, so the options given to them." I don't think that's having an effect. Like, oh, streamers don't have time, so they're paying for shortcuts. People that complain about microtransactions or cosmetics and then go pay to win or buy cosmetics in other games, you're the problem. The whales aren't the problem. The whales aren't pretending to be righteous. Right. Well, I mean, I remember when people would complain about cosmetics and the Eververse in Destiny, and I was always like, this is the greatest microtransaction storefront in gaming right now. Like, why the frick are you complaining? I remember scolding the frick out of people. I'm like, are you fricking kidding me? They got rid of RNG. They got rid of loot boxes. They gave us direct purchase options. 80% of the items are earnable. They tell you what's not earnable before, so if you feel like it's on sale and you want to buy it, you know whether or not it can be earned later. They are literally the most respectful, most transparent microtransaction store in existence. This is why I've always said, if you're going to be penny pinchy and money grubby and nasty when a company wants to do microtransactions and you're not going to want to support it and not going to want to pay for it, then you're going to end up with a bunch of mobile gamified games that are pay to win, because they're going to say, "You know what? Screw you. We made all those pretty cosmetics and we did all those things that were respectful, and all you ever did was thumb your nose at us and criticize us and call us greedy. You want greedy? Here you go. Here you go." It's like the people, it's the people that are like, "OMG, this game has microtransactions, free to play, pay to win mechanics, it's crap." And then in another game, they'll wail out, "You're a hypocrite. You're worse than the whale. Get off your high horse." Wait, I'm confused, Wheezy. Are you saying they wail out on cosmetics or they wail out on pay to win? Because if somebody wails out on cosmetics in Fortnite while criticizing pay to win in Immortal, I don't think that person's a hypocrite. I don't think that at all. If they go over to Fortnite and just dump cash into Fortnite after criticizing Diablo Immortal, I think they're consistent. Salute Reforge, pay to win, Hulu, and the like of video games. They wail out on either in other games. Well, I don't agree with that take. If your take is that someone gets all indignant and self-righteous about pay to win in Diablo Immortal, and then they wander over to Fortnite and drop $100 on cosmetics and a battle pass and everything else, I don't think they're being inconsistent. Kind of are, though. The company just sees money coming in. They don't care where it's coming from. No. They're not a hypocrite at all. 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 They're not a hypocrite at My take is you complain about the thing in this game, but then you do the same thing in another game. Well, no, I completely agree with you. Seeing somebody get all indignant and self-righteous about pay to win in Diablo Immortal, and then they crank out another couple Genshin videos and talk about how great Genshin is, and they spend a bunch of money in Genshin. Well, yeah, shut the frick up. You aren't righteous at all. The Emperor has no clothes. You don't think Blizzard see people spending thousands on cosmetics in Fortnite and think these people are ready to throw money at us? That's not what we're discussing. We're discussing whether or not someone's being consistent. We're not talking about the business's response to consumer action. We're talking about whether or not someone's being consistent if they say, this pay-to-win's crap, and then they go buy a bunch of cosmetics in Fortnite. I hate paid cosmetics in this game. And I'll buy my cosmetics in this game. Oh, no, yeah, Wheezy, that's the definition of a hypocrite. If you're going to be like, look at all these cosmetics in Destiny, all the Eververse, and then they go drop $150 in Fortnite. Yeah, shut the frick up. Yeah, that's not consistent at all. I misunderstood. I thought you were like, they're criticizing pay to win, and then they go buy a bunch of cosmetics in another game, and I'm like, well, those are different categories. The people that go, pay to win in Diablo is crap, but this pay to win in Lost Ark is fine. No, that's different too. I say the pay to win in Diablo is crap, and I said that the pay to progress in Lost Ark was fine. I didn't spend any money in Lost Ark, but they are not equivalent at all. Like, not even remotely. This is why calling something pay to progress and something pay to win is desperately needed. Because when you say pay to win in Diablo Immortal, and then you say pay to win in Lost Ark, they're not even distant cousins. They are not even distant cousins with how they're structured. I could say Black Desert Online instead, whatever. My point is, you vilify one, then spend money on the other. It's tough, Wheeze, because I could see somebody vilifying, because it was 10 levels of bad in Diablo Immortal, and I could see somebody being absolutely incensed at how that game was designed, and feeling like, I spend some money in Lost Ark. I'm not going to come down hard on that person, because Immortal was so bad, the more we looked at it, we couldn't believe how bad it was. Like, Immortal was structured so bad, it's like, even if you just broke it down and said, okay, I'm willing to accept a pay-to-win environment, it was even bad as a pay-to-win environment. Like, even if you accepted pay-to-win, it was bad in that genre of pay-to-win. Like, it was awful. I don't know. I just think when I see Lost Ark thrown in with Diablo Immortal, I'm like, that's exactly why we need different terms, because they're not even distant cousins. They're completely different approaches to monetization. Tribillion with an 11-month milestone. Hey, Lono, is 10 classes in the beta all the classes, or are there more? Keep up the awesome work. I don't think 10 classes is all the classes, no. I'm in other servers. I see people complaining about Genshin, and yet they still play the game as a totally free player. They're more problematic to me than the whales. So you think somebody complaining about pay to win in Genshin while continuing to play, they're worse than the whales? Why though? Does Genshin have PvP? I feel like your whales need fish thing only works in PvP games or sports games. The whales need fish to consume. They need people to beat up on. I don't see that in a Lost Ark. I don't see that in a Genshin unless they're actually beating the crap out of the fish. If the whales aren't there, the monetization system doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, obviously a game like 2K, if you continue to play, you're helping the player funnel stay healthy, and you're helping whales have people to beat. Right? Like, let's just say that the First Descendant, Project Magnum, let's just say that this First Descendant game has no PvP. For the sake of the discussion, let's say there's no PvP. And I get in, and I'm having a great time. And there's pay to progress, okay? And I'm critical of the pay to progress. I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like how they have it set up, but I can tolerate it, right? I'm not doing anything for the whales in that game by continuing to play because they can't beat me up. They can't do anything to me. You see what I'm saying? Like, they can't do anything to me. They can't hurt me. They can't beat me in a fight. So, like, if there's no PvP, I can be critical of it. Now, obviously, the reason I parted ways with Diablo Immortal is I could have had a perfectly fine time playing Diablo Immortal as a free-to-play player and constantly showcasing, here's the new content, here's the new season, here's the new stuff, and here's how you can play as a free-to-play player. The reason I didn't want to do that was I felt like they structured it in such an insidious and sinister way, I couldn't promote the game and not feel like I was like, and not have a bad taste in my mouth. You're supporting the system in general, though? Right, I'm saying there has to be a threshold where I feel like I'm either compromising my ethics or my morals, or I'm contributing to a player funnel that lets the whales eat. Like, if it was a FIFA or a Madden, and I continue to play but don't spend money, I'm contributing to a funnel and an ecosystem that lets the whales eat. Oh, you stupid pay to win, sons of this, sons of that. I'm contributing to the funnel. But if I'm playing a game like Lost Ark, and maybe I'm critical of like the pay to progress, and I'm kind of like, I wish I didn't do that. I'm not a big fan of it. It's not that bad though. It's not pay to win. It doesn't affect PvP, and it doesn't affect me. I'm just playing with my boys and my clan. Like, I'm not contributing to a player funnel that helps the whales consume fish. You can only use the whales need fish. The problem are the fish. I think you can only use that in certain games. I think you guys are using that real liberally. You can't use that in every game. Like, free-to-play non-paying fish are not helping the whales in Lost Ark. That you're misapplying the metaphor. The metaphor only works when the fish can be consumed by the whales. FIFA, Madden, Diablo Immortal. It only applies in those games. It doesn't apply in Lost Ark. It doesn't even apply. We don't know if it applies in the First Descendant. I don't use it in every game. Right, but saying pay to win is primarily on the fish, I don't agree with that. No, the only reason pay to win exists is because people have responded positively to it and supported it and sustained it. The idea that these people responded positively to this insidious practice, and instead of immediately stopping playing, you kept playing and you tried to get some joy out of the game that you loved and the game that you liked, it's your fault. What the frick? No! If somebody starts playing FIFA, Madden, Genshin, or Diablo Immortal, and they're like, this is pretty fun, I like this, I'm having a good time, and the more they play, the more they realize that pay to win is there, and they start to complain about it, what the frick? They're just supposed to walk away from a game and a content loop that they like on some sort of ideology? No! They're not the ones that did it. They didn't put it there, and they didn't pay for it. Now, yes, I think there's a breaking point. Creature got to the point with 2K where he was like, F this, I'm out. I'm contributing to the funnel, I'm contributing to the problem, I'm out of here. But expecting people to immediately walk away from a game like I did with Diablo Immortal, like, I'll be honest with you, if I wasn't a streamer, I'd have kept playing that game and I'd have complained about it, I'd have played it free, and I'd have probably continued to enjoy myself while grumbling every once in a while about, yep, they're just trying to get my money. Never said that they were the ones that they're at fault. It's just not the whales' fault. The whales isn't at fault here. It's so much shared blame. To act like whales aren't at fault is, well, I almost swore. That's BS. No. This doesn't make any sense to me. I don't even know who I'm talking to right now. To act like the whales are blameless? That's ridiculous. They're supporting an insidious practice. What are you talking about? They're supporting it. They're paying for it. Like, if we want to get out a percentage abacus to, like, assign blame, sure. I'm not saying it's 100% on the whales. It's like 50-50. The developers and the publishers put it in the game, and you supported it. You're on the dance floor. You're a part of the problem. Turning and blaming the fish and the people that keep playing and trying not to spend money doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. It doesn't make any sense at all. Can you be mad at the whales either? They're just trying to have fun too. I guess not mad, but I guess it's like, if you're supporting it, you're a part of the equation. You're paying money into it. You're communicating to the publishers and developers that this is okay. The whales and the minnows have a symbiotic relationship. In PvP games, yes. Yes, in PvP games, they do. 100%. Yep. The whale spends money to flex, and the minnow spends items to be flexed on. Or spends time. Right. No. I agree with that. In PvP games, FIFA, Madden, whatever, yes. The whales and the minnows, they have a symbiotic relationship. 100%. And the more the minnow pool dries up, the more the pay-to-win guys aren't going to feel special because they're going to be facing other pay-to-win people. In PvE 2, no. Lost Ark, if you are a Mountain King spender, it means nothing to the minnows. It doesn't do anything to the minnows. It doesn't do anything to the person looking at the minnows. Whales need a player base to flex on in PvE 2. No. I don't think it's nearly as symbiotic. No, because most of the time they're spending money in a PvE game, Eugene. It's to bypass stuff and shortcut stuff, not so they can go flex on some scrubby noob. You see what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't agree with that. I think the primary motivator for people to spend money in PvE is because they want to bypass barricades or time-gated things or limited run things. They're not like, oh man, I can't wait to go walk around a sea of people in the social area and do what exactly? No one's paying any attention to you. Like, if you look at Lost Ark and other games like it, like, no one's freaking paying attention to you. There's a sea of people running around, and I'm going from NPC to NPC to NPC to NPC. I'm not even looking at the other people that are there. You don't even see them. But Lono, if a PvE game, you need peasants to walk around with your gold armor riding on the $1,000 pony. You need people to gawk. I just don't think a lot of the games are structured in that way. There's no way anybody is spending money in Lost Ark and feeling like that's one of the benefits. Have you looked at that game? It's a sea of people. You can't even tell what people are wearing half the time because 8 people are stacked on an NPC and then they run away. They click on the NPC, they're in the menu, they're buying, they're dialoguing, right? And then they walk away. So no, I don't think they have a symbiotic relationship with the minnows, and the minnows are somehow a part of that relationship. No. It's in their mind. Right, and that removes the symbiotic nature then. That removes the symbiotic nature because the minnow is not having an interchange with the whale like in FIFA and Madden. Do you see? Like, there's a symbiotic relationship. They go in, yes, I won, oh, I lost. There's an interchange. There's no interchange if I'm walking around a town and some guy struts by me and in his mind, he's like, I bought all of this. And I don't even look at him. We're not having an interchange. We don't have a relationship the way we do in a PvP game. We just don't. You're telling me that you didn't get a joy out of going to the tower during AOT and showing off your raid gear that you just earned? That was the best part? I definitely think there is an element for the person personally going to a social area and showing off their stuff, but looking at the minnows and saying, you have a symbiotic relationship with the whales because you're staying in this game. No, it's not the same as the minnows that stay in FIFA and Madden and get gobbled up by whales. They're having an interchange. The minnow's existence is feeding into the motivation to pay to win. The minnow's existence in a tower or a social area, it's not necessarily and directly feeding that person's pay to win. Because again, some of the people that do pay to win in Lost Ark are literally doing it to bypass time gates and limited drops. Like, they're not doing it because, like, oh, I'm gonna look awesome. Like, that's not it. It's quite literally like a squeeze. Like, you can only do so much of this. You can only get so much of this, and they buy to get more. You don't have a relationship with them. They certainly have a relationship with you. You just got at the heart of why it can't be symbiotic. Like, I don't have a relationship with them. It's not a two-way street. It's a one-way street. That's the antithesis of a symbiosis. Like, that's why in PvP games, it's so insidious, because the more you get consumed by the whales, you feel like you've got to spend money too. That's why it happens. That's why it becomes a pay-to-win game, because it fosters a culture of, I can't win without spending money. Should I spend 5 hours grinding artificial barriers in games, or 5 hours working and spend a fraction of my earnings? Doesn't have to be symbiotic. The whole crux of this debate, Eugene, was me disagreeing with Wheezy that it's not a symbiotic relationship in PvE games. That's how this entire debate started a moment ago. He said it's a symbiotic relationship. I'm like, yeah, in PvP games, I'll grant you that, but not in PvE games, it's not. My presence in a PvE game that has pay to progress is not somehow a symbiotic fueling nature that's making the whales feel awesome. If they feel awesome, sure, but I can't be faulted for continuing to play the game as if like, oh yeah, you're a part of it. No, I'm not. Even in PvE games it is. Flexing is very important in games. There are studies that show this. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that my presence in the game is somehow a part of that equation. That's their own personal choice to interpret their spending in that way. Pay to win in a PvP game is literally a transaction of power over another player. That is a completely different relationship. That's why these terms are so important. They're dreadfully important, because pay to win is not pay to shine. It ain't pay to progress. It's not. And the motivations are different, the relationships are different, the way that it provokes money from the player, they're completely separate. That's why I've always banged on this drum. So if I boot up the First Descendant, and I want to jump into First Descendant gameplay, and I'm sitting here playing, and I got all these people going, it's pay-to-win garbage, and I break it down, and I'm like, it's actually pay to progress. It's more like Lost Ark. This isn't Diablo Immortal. This isn't Genshin. That's really important to have those distinctions, because my continuance in a game like Lost Ark, or if the First Descendant is like Lost Ark, I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm just saying, let's say that it is. My continuance in that game is not compromising to any criticism I might have of the pay-to-progress structure. Like, if I had fundamental problems with and, like, criticize pay-to-progress in Lost Ark, I can still continue to play that game, and I'm not creating the problem. Pay-to-progress sounds silly? No, what sounds silly is having zero nuance and banging on the table like a caveman and calling everything the same thing. Bring me meat! Well, what kind of meat would you like? Like, we have terms and shades in language for a frickin' reason. Like, pay to progress in Warframe or in other games like Warframe, it's not even a distant cousin to the pay to win in Diablo Immortal and Genshin. They're not even related. They have to have someone to show off to. And if people are playing games, they're complaining about monetization practices, which are continuing to be part of the environment, and that requires people for the whales to show off to. But again, in a lot of these games where you pay to progress, Eugene, like Warframe and Lost Ark, you're in your own insulated place. You like go to your own island and invest in the island, and there you have all your stuff. No one sees that. No one's like hanging out on your island. You see what I'm saying? Sure, they can go strut around the social environment, but like where the people spend primarily their times is like in their ship, in their island. Like some of the games we're literally talking about, that's not a thing. Like, oh, I'm gonna go strut around the town. What? You're usually on your island. You're investing in all the stuff there. You're in your ship. You're investing in all your stuff there and setting up everything there. You're not hanging out in other places. Now, they might have completely reworked Warframe, so maybe that's the case. But Warframe, at its inception, you weren't, like, strutting around other people. Yeah, people definitely do it in games like ESO, where the central social hub is primarily important. New World had a similar feel, right? Everybody's in town. That's where your house is. Yeah, Genshin's not pay to progress, though. Genshin's a gacha game. Pay to win games, yes. Our debate right now, and some of the confusion we're having right now, is exactly why you can't call everything pay to win. It makes it hard to even know what the frick we're all talking about. Yeah, you can pay to progress quicker in Warframe. Yes, you can, Awaken Void. Yes. Eknor gifting 5 more memberships to the community. This guy, so generous. Thank you, Eknor. Hit me, Bernie, Legacy. My man Loot got 1. Long-time member there. Jeffrey Shea is here all the time, and so is Estonio. You guys just got gifted memberships. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, they have multiple social hubs in Warframe now? Okay, but that doesn't take away from my point. Because at Warframe's inception, that was not the driver. Like, the driver to spend money, that wasn't it. Arcane's open world vampire shooter Redfall is scheduled to release at the end of March, according to sources. Yeah, Tommy Hendy liked it. A week of early access is also being planned. Yeah, and so that breaks right after the date move on Starfield. What did I say? They're going to give the first quarter to Redfall, and they're going to, I'm telling you, they're going to they're slapping Starfield end of the year. I can feel it. I can feel it in the air. Are you going back for the New World DLC thing? I don't know. Probably not. They funnel all of the viewership to purple. It just seems like such a wasted effort to stream that game over here. To bear, my point is you can't complain about practices and then support the games that have those practices and then be surprised as the industry continues to adopt those practices. At some level, speaking of pay to drip, where'd you get that shirt? Thank you, Dan. This is from 80s Tees. Be sure to use my code over there, code LONO, 80stees.com. So, what were we talking about? Where I said it's not a deal breaker. Son of a frick. We were talking about something and I said this isn't a deal breaker for me. I just don't like it. Hogwarts. I said that Hogwarts having, timed exclusive missions and timed exclusive items, it felt like a bygone era, but it wasn't a deal breaker. I was still going to play the game and support the game, right? So I do think there's a threshold, Eugene, where criticism isn't necessarily an indictment of the person. Oh, you're going to play Hogwarts? I thought you criticized it. You're a hypocrite. Well, no. You can voice criticisms and frustrations on structure or choices and still consume and play. Like, if they're like the pay to progress in Lost Ark, I could play Lost Ark as a free-to-play player, never spend a dime, enjoy my time, have a good time, and in my coverage, I could have been like, I don't like how some of this pay-to-progress is structured. Now, apparently, they've restructured some of it to make it less annoying. Well, why do you think they did that? Maybe, I don't know, the existing consumer base didn't throw their hands up in the air and walk away from the game. They provided feedback, and they changed it, right? So I don't want to. I think we can't create this false dichotomy of like you either walk away from the game or you continue to play it, and then you're part of the problem. It's like, well, in some games, yes, but not in every game. In some games, that might just need toned down. Yeah, life is pay to win. I was really angry that short didn't do better. I thought that was fantastic. That was, I don't know. That was one of my best moments, and nobody liked it. I heard this game's pay to win. I was like, let me let you in on a little secret. Life is pay to win. But for some people, they just prefer to walk away. Wheezy, it's fine if you just prefer to walk away. I'm not saying one response is better than the other, right? It seemed to me that we were trotting out this narrative that if you criticize monetization in a game, but you continue to play the game, you're like, you're a part of the problem. Like, the argument went in stages. The first thing you said, I agree with. If you're going to criticize pay to win in Diablo Immortal, but then you support pay to win in Genshin, you're a hypocrite, right? And you're probably supporting Genshin because it supports your channel, so you're just a dishonest piece of trash, right? You're just lying to people. Diablo Immortal's pay to win. Go over to Genshin. Here's my money! Like, you're just a freaking liar with no integrity, right? You are. You're worse than a hypocrite. You're a liar. So I agree with that. If you're going to be mad about selling all their cosmetics in Destiny, and then you go over to Fortnite and drop $200 on cosmetics, you're just a hypocrite. Shut the frick up. Nobody needs to listen to you. I agree with that part of the discussion. We shifted from that part of the discussion, and we started talking about how it's not the whale's fault, it's the minnow's fault. It's like, if you continue to play this game, you're a part of the problem, because the whales want to flex on you, and the whales want to consume you. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Hold the phone. Because I can play plenty of games where there are whales with cosmetics or whales with pay to progress, and I may not like it and criticize it, but I'm not a part of the problem just because I continue to play. The people who are supporting it, the people who are creating a financial incentive for the company to continue to do it, they're the primary problem, not me. Like, people have proven that they're willing to buy these things. They're willing to buy the power. They're willing to pay to skip, pay to progress. People have proven that they're willing to do that. They're the causality, not me. Me continue to play the game. I'm not the causality. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy that skip, that XP boost. I didn't buy that powerful axe. I didn't buy that shortcut. I didn't buy that cosmetic. They did. They're the causality. My presence merely aids it in some way, and in PvE games, it's passive, it's not active. In a PvP game, yes, it's incredibly active. I'm playing FIFA and Madden, and I'm complaining about pay to win while actively feeding the win streak of whales. Yes, that's an active contribution, but I'm not the causality. I'm not the one that swiped the credit card. How strong of a stance are you taking? The stronger the stance, the less room for nuance. Pay to win makes no sense in any context, no matter if it's in progress, gear, PvE, PvP. It opens the door for so many bad practices. Someone justifies some microtransaction on the product. The more hardline you are, the more I expect your own actions to be hardline. Otherwise, why even say? Well, and that's why, Wheezy, I felt like with Diablo Immortal, I couldn't remain consistent. We researched it. I watched 2 or 3 different videos, and I'm like, I can't stream this game. I streamed that game, and those videos, had anywhere from 10 to 20,000 views. And I was like, I can't do it. Can't do it. Because I felt like I was compromising. If I would have continued to stream Lost Ark, and maybe I had minor or not huge criticisms, but maybe I had some criticisms about the pay to progress in that game, I don't feel like that would be a compromising thing. Actively playing games that have problematic microtransactions is contributing to the problem. Not as much as the people that are actively supporting the microtransactions. Like, I don't know. Like, we can't go easy. We can't go easy on the Johnny credit cards of the world and act like, well, if the rest of us non-Johnny credit cards would just stop playing the game, this would all go away. No, I don't think so. No. I don't think that is like a, it doesn't feel like a reasonable, it doesn't even feel like a reasonable suggestion. The exact thing I meant. I felt used by 2K. They gave me a ton of free crap every year. So here I am running around with 799 ORV players with crazy cosmetics, unlimited boosts, unlimited Gatorades. People see me and think that either A, I spent that money, or B, I earned that. For the average player to get the same stuff, it would take them almost 4 years or a little over $5,000. So I was 100% part of the problem. I was pushing 2K's agenda, so I walked away. But it took me many, many years to do it. That's what I mean. If you love the game, like, it's a lot to ask somebody to be like, hey, you got to stop playing that game you're enjoying. And I think that's part of the problem, is like, if I wasn't a streamer, I 100% would have kept playing Diablo Immortal. I would have. Not a doubt in my mind I would have kept playing. I would have played it. I would have played it free to play. I would have played it with my wife. And we probably would have had a blast. And I probably never would have once felt like I needed to spend money. I probably wouldn't have. Right? There's way more complaining and still playing and barely spending than there are whales. There's way more complaining and still playing and barely spending than there are whales. Disagree. No way. The number of people complaining and still playing is not greater than the number of whales. I don't agree with that. No frickin' way. Because in one sense, we always talk about the people that get online and complain and go to Reddit and forums and Twitter. We always talk about how they're the minority. The majority of the player base has no frickin' clue about any of this stuff. Now, in FIFA and Madden, they probably do. But I guarantee you there are plenty of people. It wouldn't surprise me at all if the majority of the players in Diablo Immortal have no freaking clue about the pay-to-win stuff. They never utter a single complaint. They're just playing. And then, 20% of the players make up 80% of the revenue. So you got, 20% of the player base is whales. Like, I don't think the number of people that complain on Twitter and forums and Reddit about Diablo Immortal are larger than 20% of that game's community. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. The number of people that have flocked to Reddit and Twitter, forums, and YouTube to complain about Diablo Immortal's pay-to-win, I think they pale in comparison to the whales. I think the whales are an ocean. There's an ocean of whales in that game. And the people that complain are nothing compared. No way. If all the people that come to Reddit, forums, and Twitter stopped playing Diablo Immortal tomorrow, it'd make no difference at all. Game's too big. There's way too many people that are completely tuned out to what's going on. No way. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that for a second. And I think games that size have an ocean of whales. I don't think there's like 100 people spending a lot of money in Diablo Immortal. I think 20% of that game's population, that is a lot of dadgum people. We're not talking Gen Pop. I bet 80% or higher of the whales are a plugged-in type of gamer. You filthy non-whalers are only a measly 20% of the gaming industry revenue. You feel good now? If they continue to play, is it really a problem? That's essentially the argument. Like, they're basically saying, if you're going to gripe, if you're going to complain, put your money where your mouth is and stop playing because you're contributing to the problem. And I'm like, but the people that go to Twitter, Reddit, and forums are a minority. They don't make up a large enough pool of the player base that if they all of a sudden stop playing, it wouldn't make a difference at all. They cater to the whales because the minnows don't walk away. We're the whales. But Eugene, the crux of my argument is most of the minnows don't have a clue and they're not complaining about pay to win. That's what I'm saying. The worst thing about Diablo Immortal, a season only lasts 27 days, and it feels like FOMO, too much content. The interests of those parties are diametrically opposed. Whales want more advantage to buy. Minnows want less advantage available. Just watch the intro. The potential for any pay-to-win completely throws cold water on this for me. For all that D2 gets wrong, the one thing that keeps us on the one thing that keeps some level of player parity for sure. We're not talking Gen Pop. I'm willing to bet 80% or higher of the whales are a plugged-in type of gamer. Adults are the whales. Our nerd kids are the minnows. There's only one of me. I got 4 spawn watching. I actually wonder what this metric is, Eugene and Wheezy. How many of the whales are active complainers online? That's the real question. How many of the whales just keep swiping that credit card and they constantly just complain and moan about the pay to win and they literally subsidize it? I think that's the greater question. Like, sure, there are probably people that complain and get angry and run to Reddit and run to forums, and it's like, well, just stop playing then. That would make a difference. And it's like, dude, this game's too big and too popular. Wouldn't make a bit of difference if I stopped playing. I can get every single person on Reddit to stop playing. It wouldn't matter. Game's too big. Diablo Immortal's an abomination of a game, in quotations. Playing it in any way, I feel like I make the game more successful. Yeah, Hilly, I haven't touched it since. I have not touched it since. Eugene says most of them because they think there's always a bigger fish. Do you see, Eugene? Like, I don't think turning our ire and our sights on minnows makes any sense at all. It's like, no. It's not the non-paying free-to-play players that are annoyed by this reality. It's the people that pay into it. That's the problem. People that support it. People that succumb to it. You know? Like, if somebody is going the distance in Lost Ark or even Diablo Immortal and they don't spend a dime and they voice their irritation and their complaint, they aren't even a blip on the dadgum radar. It's all of the people paying into it. They're the problem. Now, if all those people that are free to play suddenly woke up one day and realized what was going on and stopped playing, would that turn the tide? Maybe. Maybe. Because you still have to consider something, Eugene. The 20% of the player base that makes up 80% of the revenue would still have each other to compete with and to one up. If anything, if all those minnows left the game, it could potentially make the problem worse and heightened. Because now, the only people I have to compete with are the other people spending money. So now I got to spend even more. Whales don't like to compete with whales. Okay, but the problem is with the theory of getting minnows to leave the game is I'm telling you right now, it's like what we always said in Destiny. I think most of the people playing, a good example is Diablo Immortal. I would put money on the table. I bet most of the people playing Diablo Immortal, they don't have a friggin' clue that the game's the way that it is. They don't pay any attention. They're literally just chasing green arrows. They're just chasing green arrows, homie. Killing something, bing, stuff drops. Green arrow, let me equip it. New sword, green arrow, let me equip it. Like, everything we knew about the Destiny player base supports this presumption. Most of the people that played that game lived in the public spaces. The majority of that community never touches trials, never touches raids, never touches nightfalls. They live in the public space and the strike playlist. Like, I think that's indicative of most player bases. I think most player bases just live down there in the shallow waters. And the data supports this about spending when we look at the data that 20% of the player pool of most games makes up 80% of the spending. Well, that means 80% of the player pool isn't spending much at all. Like, what I'm saying, I think, is readily available and observable in games. And this was not what we intended to talk about today, but sadly, I did not know that Nexon was behind this First Descendant game, right? I saw the trailer, I read in everything we know about it, I saw 3 different direct addresses that they made to pay to win, and thought, this looks like it could be the next big looter. And the reason we went down this big pay to win debate is because people with more knowledge of this developer and this publisher are like, bro, these guys are known for pay to win, and they're known for absolutely throwing games in the bin when they're not making enough money. So if you're coming in and you wanted to hear about the First Descendant gameplay and the First Descendant or Project Magnum and how, it's going to be the next looter shooter or the next big looter, we got bogged down into this debate because this game, in my mind, is already dancing on a high wire. Yeah, it looked like they were trying to break the mold for sure, but it's a pretty hard mold. Like, they spoke directly to it, and I thought, okay, these guys aren't wanting to do that. They're wanting to forge a different path for this game. Well, we'll see. Someone should play the long con, major in accounting, apply for the job at these places, work up the ranks. Boom, actual data. I have immediate doubts because I've seen Nexon say the same thing about new games for 15 years. I will not trust them. Wait and see like everything else. I'm still sketch on Diablo 4. Robert, I am about 1,000 times more confident in Diablo 4's monetization when compared to what we heard here. Diablo 4 literally multiple times, like I have a whole broadcast on it. I read through their blog, and it's like they are doubling down. They're practically saying we are not Diablo Immortal without saying we are not Diablo Immortal. And then this company said we're not going to pursue excessive pay to win. Did you see the last Force video? No, I intended to potentially react to it, but I've not gotten a chance to watch it yet. No. Dev words don't mean anything. Then why even do streams and talk, Robert? Come on, that's such a silly platitude. So some stuff leaked from a questionnaire, and that means Blizzard's just blatantly lying to the public. I don't know. After Overwatch, I'm more concerned about Diablo 4 than I was. I feel like Diablo 4 is being handled by a completely different team and philosophy, though. I just don't think so. Oh, you haven't seen it yet. Nexon's shown for years to be untrustworthy, says Wheezy. I mean, I will be dead honest with you guys. Part of the reason I was excited for this game is I continue to think, and I thought this when I played and covered Destiny, so this isn't like me taking swings at that game. Even when I played that game and covered that game, I always said, somebody is building the next big live service game. I continued to say that. Even when I covered that game, I said that, because some of that was because of I enjoyed when I got to cover Anthem and I got to cover like another looter and have growth. Like I got tired of feeling like I can only cover one game, right? Overwatch 2 Reddit is on fire. Is that part of their lie? I didn't see anything about Overwatch other than the phone number thing and the what's the other thing? It's the phone number thing and the buying you can pay through the battle pass to get heroes. Look at all them likes. Yeah, we crushed the light game today. I bet you if this topic was more hot and more searched for, this video would have been absolutely banging. Primarily, the people that tuned in today, they like to listen to me talk about looter shooters, so the sub base tuned in for this, which is great. That means anytime I want to talk about a looter shooter, I'm going to get a ton of people to come in here. But the problem is this game's not making waves yet, so no one's like really searching for it. So we got a great turnout and a great amount of likes. We didn't meet a lot of new people because this thing isn't really turning numbers yet. Like no one's really searching for it. When we looked for it the other night, it was like we couldn't find, we found like 2 people covering it, and the one guy's got like a teeny tiny channel and he's gotten tons of viewership because like there's nowhere else to go for info. At 100% blowing up at a later date. Yeah, they need to show up to like a big event or something like the Game Awards and like have the trailer, have the new name. Because right now, no one's even knowing what to search for because it was originally Project Magnum and then they went silent and now it's the First Descendant and, you know, the VOD will play well in the coming weeks. Yeah, I think we did a great job in the show open. There is good info in the show open. It's nuanced. I cover all angles. You know, and I think I think if they show up to something like the Game Awards and drop a big trailer, everybody will be like, yo, that game looks sick. I'm not putting down my pitchfork. I don't trust Nexon. I'll say this until Nexon literally proves me wrong. I mean, Wheezy, I want that, though. Like, if this game comes out and I dive in and I play, I need people in the audience to be like, constantly raising that eyebrow to be like, all right, look at everything, double check, okay, I still don't know. Like, I need people to be there to do that, because I'm not going to want to boot up the game and immediately be a negative Nancy, but I also don't want to boot up the game and be some doe-eyed dum-dum. It's like, this game's great, and just like run in head first and just get my freaking head chopped off because, you know, the company behind it is doing skeezy things. I want the game to be good. I think people need to understand that. I want every game to be good. I especially want every looter to be good, man. We need some live service games to come out to blow the lid off, you know? I need some games to come out that let me do what I do, you know? I need some games to come out that let me do what I do. I've not done what I do in a long time. They set way outside industry standards with Immortal. They're bucking industry standards with Immortal. I think Blizzard is on a path of pushing monetization practices beyond acceptable limits. Hope I'm wrong. Heck yeah, a UE5 looter shooter. I want that in my life. Pouring out for the Anthem dream. That's right. I'm different from Sven. I want every game to be good. Sven thinks every game is good. Well, no. Sven has defended himself against that. He doesn't think every game is good. He finds a way to enjoy almost every game. He will never say that every game is good. He'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I enjoyed XYZ about that game." He'll readily tell you that a game is bad, but he enjoyed it. Oh, hang on. I need to tell my therapist we're going to be virtual today. We will be webcam today. Not in. We didn't get a sitter. He has low standards. I don't know if I would call it low standards. I think somebody can play a game and say, man, like, that game ran like garbage, but I really had fun in that one level. He's not negative Nancy. He's silver lining Sven. Right. He's a glass half full kind of guy. He's not even a glass half full kind of guy. He's like, well, the glass is empty, but at least I have a glass. Like, you know what I'm saying? The glass is empty, but at least I have a glass. I will say this. We have some first looks coming to the First Look channel that you guys need to make sure and check out. Today we hit it with the Entropy Center, so be sure to check that one out. And we hit... I reacted to an article about somebody saying that Halo should get a new developer. That's a great reaction video. And then I have the Last Hero of Nostalgaia. Souls fans, I think, are going to absolutely love that game. That one will hit. The Last Hero of Nostalgaia will hit tomorrow. I'm already telling you, I enjoyed the heck out of Final Fantasy 15, but the game is hot dog crap, and I would never recommend it to anyone. The game is terrible. Let's see. What? Nostalgia? No, it's Nostalgaia. It's a joke. It's a joke, Wheezy. It's a meme game. They don't even spell it like nostalgia. They spell it a little bit different. I know how to pronounce nostalgia. They spell it G-A-I-A at the end, and it's a total meme. Like when you do your character creation, it's a stick figure, and you can adjust eye height, body type, and all this stuff, and your character doesn't even change. It's hysterical. It's a total meme game with the core combat of a Souls game. It's so funny. They premiered it during the Summer Game Fest. It was like, the Last Hero of Nostalgaia. Like, it's got a guy, like, narrating. Yeah. I know how to pronounce nostalgia. Yeah. They actually don't even spell it nostalgia. They spell it, it's spelled like Nostalgaia. Like that. Nostalgaia. Warframe's content loop didn't hook me because it felt frivolous and uninteresting. Like, nothing felt impactful or cool. It felt like endless flourishes. I don't know. It was like endless acrobatic flourishes. It just, there was something about it that was, it had a frivolity to it. I just didn't like it. Is it like Andromeda? Yeah. Andromeda. Yeah, Andromeda. Yeah, my first look of Last Hero of Nostalgaia, Last Hero of Nostalgaia, that hits tomorrow, and the one that hit today is Entropy Center. If you're a fan of Portal, you 100% need to check out the Entropy Center. Like, check out my gameplay on First Look. Also, make sure and check out my reaction. If you are not a member, we are getting ready to go to members only. And right now is a great time. If anybody's been holding out on gifting members, we like to do Operation Gray Name at the end of a stream. We convert gray names to green names so they can join us for the members only talk show. And so if you guys want to do that, you have like a couple minutes to do that while I get everything set up for the next stream. Those of you who are not a member, always remember to support our other channels. We have the Reforge First Look channel, which is quick first looks at video games. Reforge Reacts is the most like this channel. It's me reacting to videos and articles, so that one would be more similar to the talk show. And then Reforge Updates is like real quick, short 4-minute updates, and a lot of those videos we've been putting over there now, we don't cover on this channel, so it's a great funnel of consistent gaming news. We're ending early tomorrow, so we'll end the day with that first look tomorrow. Oh, you want to like premiere redirect tomorrow? Yeah, we could do that. That's a good call. Yeah, I think you guys will like that one. Especially you From Friday Souls guys. I think you'll like it. We are going to end a teensy early tomorrow because it's my son's birthday, and we're doing his birthday party on Saturday. But tomorrow, our circle of friends, we used to do like a big combined birthday bash, but now the girls are getting to a certain age where like they want to do a girls' birthday party. So the boy might be pretty bummed on his birthday to not be included in the birthday party. His is Saturday, but the girls that would commonly do a combined one with him are doing their own thing now. He's still going to do a combined one with his buddy on Saturday. But tomorrow, his sister's going to go to a party, and it's a girls' party. So I was like, well, I'll take the boy and do something with him. And so I got to end a little early tomorrow so that he can spend some time with Papa, and then my wife will take the girl to the girl's birthday party. So I was like, he's gonna be bummed that he can't go. Not only can he not go, but it's a girl's birthday party. So he just doesn't understand those types of things. He just wants to hang out with everybody. This guy says, good grief, man. It's an awesome game that got screwed by shareholders. End of story. Screwed by shareholders. Are they the ones who released a broken game that was removed from storefronts? Take off the rose-colored glasses. Like, seriously? Cyberpunk got screwed over by shareholders? Sure. Yeah, the shareholders made him release a broken game on old gen, and it was so bad it got removed from the PlayStation storefront. Yeah, the shareholders did that. Sure. So ridiculous. Go-karts and putt-putt time. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. My wife said she found something fun to do. All right, we're bailing. We're bailing to members. If you're not a member, go to Reforge Reacts, go to Reforge First Look, go to Reforge Updates, go watch all the videos that just went live. We're going live with members only. If you're not a member, consider becoming a member. It's $5 a month. We do a members-only talk show every day that you get to be a part of, and we have a members-only Discord. Hey, thanks for clicking on this. This is going to be another members-only stream, and if you're watching this, you might be like, oh man, I got a membership. Yes, you did. Every day, we end the show with a members-only talk show. It's kind of an AMA, bit of a free-for-all, not quite as structured as the talk shows throughout the day, because we're not trying to have that very well-structured talk show to kind of bring in new people. It's just sort of a free-for-all. Make sure you're in the members-only Discord. It's linked below in the description of all of our videos. It's another perk and benefit of being a member, and then you can be a part of everything that's going on. I'm going to end the previous stream that was about the First Descendant. We had a really, really fun discussion about what could be the next big looter shooter, and we got into a bit of a discussion about pay to win